Good morning here in Nepal. We're having a weekly brain trauma patient support group with Shannon Hilbert, a recovering brain trauma patient from Wichita, Kansas. Shannon's going to basically run the show. Maybe Shannon will tell you a little bit about her background before she goes into her presentation today.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Shannon in Kansas.
Yes. Hello, John. It's Wednesday where you're at.
Yes.
It's still Tuesday here.
Okay.
But I'm so glad that you're joining me in spreading the word about there is life after brain injury. No matter what, you just got to keep a positive attitude and just go with the flow. And I am, my accident happened in November 17th of 1984. So I was in a coma for about 6 weeks, and I had to learn to walk again and talk again and just function again. So, but it didn't hold me down, so I'm here now. So I'm going to talk about Dr. Daniel G. Amen's book about the change. Okay, I'll get this. Okay. It's called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. Right here. And it's so resourceful for people with a brain injury and people without a brain injury. I'm sure a few doctors could use it too in their spare time. But anyway, I am wanting to go over the brain is the hardware of your soul. And it is the hardware of your very essence as a human being. And I got hurt on my it's called the I didn't get the prefrontal cortex on the pituitary gland and the I can't think of it now, but I'll come back later. But the your general limbic system, your deep limbic system, is at the center of the brain, okay? And it is the bonding and the mood control center. So if you get damaged, if your brain is swollen, or basically any brain injury, you're affected with that. It is when this part of the brain is off kilter, people struggle with moodiness and negativity, and that's not good to be negative. And I talked about being negative last week about the ants, ANTS, the automatic negative thoughts. And we got to kill those. You got to be positive in all your thoughts. The basal ganglia, these structures control the body's idling speed. Okay? When this part of the brain works too hard, anxiety, panic, and fearfulness and conflict avoidance are often the result. When it is underactive, people can often struggle with concentrating and fine motor control problems. Okay, I am going to give you a few tips on when your deep limbic system is altered. The functions of the deep limbic system of the brain are: it sets the emotional tone of the mind, and it filters external thoughts and external events through internal states. It creates emotional coloring. What are you smiling about, John? You're smiling. And when the deep limbic system is affected, it can also, it tags events as internally important, and it stores highly charged emotional memories. It modulates motivation, so you can be motivated or less motivated. You can be greatly motivated and have a super duper attitude that you can conquer anything, or you can have a negative attitude, which is wrong. And your deep limbic system controls your appetites and your sleep cycles. So, and I take a seizure medication, and I take it twice a day, and that does affect my sleeping cycle. I don't. It keeps me awake at night. So, and also, it promotes the deep limbic system promotes bonding with your family or your friends. You know, you're very emotional, that you want to reach out. You want to be friendly, sometimes over friendly, and that can get you in a bad situation. But deep limbic system, it directly processes the sense of smell. So that one thing that when I was in my coma and I was semi-comatose, I was in a wheelchair and I couldn't talk or anything like that. But I could smell my mother's perfume. And that's one thing that my sense of smell, that it didn't, I remembered that smell, so I connected with that. And the deep limbic system, it also, the functions of that, it modulates libido. So your love life can be up or down, who knows. And then problems in the deep limbic system, you can be moodiness, irritability, and you can have clinical depression. And also increased negative thinking. That those ants, automatic negative thoughts. You gotta spray and get rid of those. And you can have negative perceptions of events. You can foresee, you can foresee some events you think are going to be negative, so you can prophesize automatic negative thoughts that are going to that. You can have problems with the deep limbic system is decreased motivation. You can have a flood of negative emotions as well. And then also you can have sleep problems. You can also have decreased or increased sexual responsiveness and social isolation. And that is anyone, but especially people who have injured their brains. So, John, have you met any of the brain injury, head injury doctors there in Nepal?
Well, essentially, all neurosurgeons are brain injury doctors. The extent varies, but of course, there are some that specialize in it. Uh,
Yeah.
so, so they all must be aware of what you're talking about. And I think, giving talks like this bring a greater awareness to, not people in medicine, people like you that have suffered injuries.
Yes. And it
Carry
is
on.
so important because, pardon?
As they say in England, carry on.
Okay. It's so important because um, September is Brain Injury Awareness Month as well. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Well, now you do.
Okay. It was
You're
worth the
so
price of
funny.
admission.
Huh?
It was worth the price of admission.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Um, okay. Let's see. All right. Now you can have okay, enhancing positive thoughts, patterns, and strengthening connections. Okay. The real, to heal deep limbic system problems, we need to focus on a number of diverse prescriptions, accurate thinking, the proper management of memories, the connections between pleasant smells and moods, and building positive bonds between oneself and others. The following, I had the following prescription cards. Let's see if I can find them again. Okay, the following prescription cards about the deep limbic system. Let me get those out. Okay. Okay. So you want to avoid automatic negative thoughts. Okay? So the overall state of mind has a certain tone. Okay. So your aunt number one is always and never thinking. You want to avoid that. I'm going to write this down so people can remember that, John. Okay. So
Okay.
in the the patient injury brain injury center. Okay. So always negative thinking. Okay. And focusing on the negative. You want to avoid that. You don't want to focus on the negative. And you don't want to fortune tell. You don't want to fortune tell your future. predicting the worst possible outcome in a situation, and believing you can't mind read. Okay? You cannot mind read your situation because you don't know what's going to happen. So believing that you know what others are thinking, even though they haven't ever told you. And ant number 5 is thinking with your feelings. You don't want to believe negative feelings without ever questioning them. And you don't want to beat yourself with guilt, thinking in the words like should have, would have, ought to, and have to, you know? And you don't want to label yourself, because attaching a negative label to yourself or to someone else is terrible. You don't want to do that. You want to be at peace with yourself. And personalizing, investing in events with personal meaning. You know, I like that screen, John.
You like the what?
Your Manicam.com.
Okay.
That is good.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't want to personalize your anything. It says personalizing occurs best innocuous events with personal meaning. So you don't want to do that. And you don't want to blame yourself. That is the 9th most poisonous ant, is blame. Blaming someone else for your own problems. And you want to kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. You want to use some bug killer for the ants. And you want to surround yourself with people who provide positive bonding, like your mother or your friends or your father or your family. You know, you want to enrich yourself with positive thinking and positive bonding. And you want to build people skills to balance limbic bonds, to balance emotional healing and emotional bonds. And you want to recognize the importance of physical contact, such as touch is an essential to our humanity. You want to touch people, hug them, you know, and surround yourself with great smells. Get some aromatherapy, essential oils, or go to Walmart and get some nice candles. And it really has a great effect on the mood and the right smells. Have a good effect on the limbic system. And you need to build a library of wonderful memories. Make a memory book, like a photo album, of all that you love, and look through that every day or every week, and just think how grateful you are. And physical exercise is the best. The brain loves the oxygen it gets when you work out. It loves oxygen anyway, but the physical exercise does it all. And watch your limbic nutrition. And to eat right, eat all the major food groups, and you you want to keep track of how you're eating and all that. Well, it's been 30 minutes, John, and I want to hear you talk.
Well, it's very informative. Thank you. And it helps to have a blueprint.
Yes, sir.
With recovery, because I've had a little experience being an ex-emergency doctor. I've had a little experience with the ways that brain injury can affect a patient. I had one patient who suffered a subdural hematoma. I think it was secondary trauma, and I'm sure you know what that is. But for the audience out there, it's basically a blood clot that develops after brain trauma sometimes, and needs to be evacuated, taken out, like a blood clot. And I was told as a young resident, and this is one of my first neurosurgical patients, he said, my job was to discharge the patient. And I went to talk to the patient, give him instructions, because that was basically my job, give him follow-up instructions. And he kept asking me, when am I going to go home? And, I said, well, you're getting discharged this afternoon. And then I talked to him some more. And then he asked me again, when am I getting discharged? And after the third or fourth time, I thought, well, this is unusual. Something's going on. We better get a repeat CT. Well, lo and behold, he had another clot, brain clot.
Oh my gosh! Well,
so
good catch, John.
Well, the only way you catch that, Shannon, is changes in behavior. There was nothing. There's no focal deficit where he couldn't move his arms or legs. It was just his thinking, and that kind of told me that brain trauma sometimes is a thinking disease.
Oh, yes.
It affects your thinking. It's not so much the damage, but obviously the thinking damage you can't see. You can't see that on a CAT scan or an MRI, but you can see it in the behavior of people, because there must be some changes, microscopic changes in the brain tissue or whatever, that causes the brain not to function like it normally does. So. And you're bringing to the fore, changes in behavior and different kinds of effects that a brain injury can have on a patient, sometimes subtle.
John, I wonder how different the rehabilitation is in Nepal or other foreign countries versus the U.S. Do you have you witnessed that?
Not yet. I just got here, so the only thing I've witnessed so far is my hotel. My hotel are getting organized in the hospital. But yeah, the healthcare system is different here. It's a third world country, obviously, so they don't have the resources available. But the people are very kind. They gave us a party for, incoming doctors. There were 4 of us coming in. They call us professors because we're teaching. And they really, really have rolled out the red carpet. We had a reception. We had a talk. They gave us gifts. And it was quite heartwarming to have people that don't have the resources, but are yet so friendly, and they give freely of their, you know, and they're always checking with you, or if you want coffee, you want water. It's hot here. But it's like Miami. I don't know what Wichita is like in the summer, but it's hot here. It's hot here, and AC is not common like it is in Miami.
Really? Okay. Well, yeah, so yeah, I hope I hope you're secure
Yes,
with this
yes, it's a safe area. There are some areas, I'm told, close by in India where it's not as safe, you know, for a white American. But I think around here is pretty safe.
Well, good.
And you know, I'm just deathly afraid of Bengal tigers.
Yeah.
I don't want to run into a Bengal tiger. There's no more vicious animal I have seen in my lifetime than when I saw a Bengal tiger at the zoo in Philadelphia. I still remember it vividly. How massive it was. It was 12 feet long, first of all. It's just constantly paced. And they have those in Nepal, but it's not common. They're in the jungle and the mountains and in remote areas. They're not in the city, and more in southern India, in certain parts of India, but not. I don't think they're common in this area. But
yeah. Now, have you witnessed the towns that have had earthquakes?
yeah, they had a significant amount of damage, and I was in Kathmandu. I flew into Kathmandu, and I saw a lot of residual damage from the earthquake. I believe it was like 6 months to a year ago.
Yeah.
To a lot of the old temples. They had some really nice landmarks that were damaged in Kathmandu, and I can still see the damage in the streets. Not loose rubble, but some of the streets were affected, and they're slowly getting rebuilt. There's a lot of history in Kathmandu. Beautiful little town. Well, it's not little, beautiful town. And I didn't realize it's one of the centers of Buddhism. So I was taken on a tour of Kathmandu to some of the Buddhist area. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing how the healthcare is different, how the rehab is different, how the brain rehab is different. And you know, obviously it's a little rougher. Like as I said, they don't have the resources, but I think they take good care. You know, they use a lot of, like, for example, I had problems with my leg swelling and full body, this type of thing, but I got a lot of massage from the Indian therapist. It's like a lot of hands-on, old type of treatment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of thing. I imagine it's probably the same in brain trauma. They probably have a lot of hands-on as opposed to machines. Like, when you rehab, do you have a lot of machines that you work on, or step masters, and what do you do?
Well,
I guess everything's different, right?
Certainly, yeah. You walk through the parallel bars, and then also about your balance. You have to. People with traumatic brain injuries oftentimes they lose all their balance, you know. Mm-hmm. So their sense of balance and all that, and there's
I'm curious about that, Shannon. How do they work on balance to help a patient?
Okay, well they have a balance board, and they and it's just like a flat board, and and it's on oh gosh,
a flat board that you
well, it's like a the board is up high, and so you have to sit on it. You have to face your back on it, you know, your back up to it, And so, and they strap you on the board, and it's it can go up and down, you know. So
Mhm.
they can gain. I'll find out what it's called next
Okay.
time. Okay.
Is that a big problem in your recovery, was balance?
Well, at first it was, yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's why this is a good, I think, a
yeah.
platform,
At
Shannon.
first,
Should
you
be
know,
going to questions like balance and,
yeah,
you know, educate
I
audience on problems with
yes. Since I was, my injury was on the left side of my brain, the the left side of my skull. It was depressed skull fracture, and so everything on my right side was affected. You know, and so I had paralysis on my arm, on my right arm. You know, so
balance.
I had to write with my left hand. I'm right-handed, but in therapy, I had to write with my left hand, and I had a I guess my mother says that my right eye was like about as swollen as a ping pong ball. It was my orbital was affected, orbital something was affected. And so I when I recovered, my eye would look out. It would be a lazy eye.
Mhm.
So the doctors, about a year later, when I got released from the hospital, the doctors went in and tightened my eye muscles so it would look straight on instead of wandering, you know.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, that was a
yeah,
separate, that's a separate issue, is
yeah.
eye phobia or
Oh well,
eye incoordination.
yeah. That was eye and hand coordination. That was one thing,
So
and you know,
you had a lot of double vision yourself after the accident?
no, I it was 32 years ago, so
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, but I had to get glasses. You know, I did have double vision and all that, and I couldn't read writing. People had to um, print with big letters, you know, for me to read because of my vision was so affected. But I thank the good Lord above, I'm here now.
Mhm.
I back to my semi paralysis. It was, yeah, my and when I would get out of see, they would tie me in bed so I wouldn't get out, because if I got out, tried to walk, I'd fall on the floor because all my muscles were just, I had to regain everything, you know. I couldn't,
Well, you know, Shannon, the book you were talking about before, that mostly deals with behavior and thinking rehabilitation as opposed to physical rehabilitation,
yes,
correct?
yeah, yeah. That
Okay.
from recovery and all that. Um, but I have lots of literature that I'm going to share in the future that is about um, the is from the Brain Injury Association of America,
Hmm.
and I can share that with you.
Sure.
So
Well,
yeah,
what are we going to do next week, Shannon?
well, we're going to cover. I'm um, I want to cover the relaxation, how to relax, you know, looking into your anxiety and fear
Mhm.
of part of the basal ganglia of your brain
Okay.
that could have been affected. Um, and then also, I can share a little bit about from I can share an article from the Brain Injury Association of America, and I mean it is. We have the Brain Injury Association of America, and also the United States Brain Injury um, affiliate. Um,
Okay, okay, Shannon, very good. I guess we'll wrap,
yes, sir.
we'll
Yeah.
wrap it up now, okay, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And
Great.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming out today. And I'll see you at the same time if I survive the Bengal tiger.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
I don't think that'll be a problem.
Well, what about the
Okay.
food? What about the food?
Yeah, I might as well go to the zoo. Okay, Shannon, we'll stay here.
What about?
Stay here. I'll still talk to you after the show.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Say good night, Shannon.
okay. Good night. I'll see you next week. See you next